Hello year 8s and welcome back to mathematics. In today's lesson we're continuing with our topic of solving equations, and this is actually the last math lesson we're going to have for this term, so well done on making it to the end of a whole term of online learning. What we're doing in today's lesson is we're looking at solving equations with brackets. So what we want to be able to do by the end of today's lesson is be able to expand brackets first of all, but also be able to solve equations that have algebraic brackets in it. So let's get into it in today's lesson. Firstly, let's just do a quick recap of what we're doing when we're solving equations. Now, I talked about this last lesson and the lesson before, but just to remind everybody, when we are solving equations, the aim is to make our pronumeral, our letter, the subject of the equation. We want to have solve it by going, okay, x is equal to a number, or y is equal to a number, a is equal to a number, depending on whatever letter or pronumeral you have in your question. And the way that we do this is by performing reverse operations. The opposite of adding terms together is to subtract. The opposite of multiplying is to divide. And last lesson we actually looked at solving equations with fractions, and we noticed that when we had a fraction, that was division, and the opposite of dividing was multiplying. And so what we had to do in last lesson was actually we had to multiply our expressions first before we could actually solve them. And the other rule was whatever we do to one side of the equation, we have to do to the other side. So if we multiply by 2 on one side, we have to multiply by 2 on the other side. So we went through those rules, and we're going to be continuing to apply these rules as we learn how to solve equations today as well. So today we're looking at brackets. Now, earlier in this year, we looked at algebraic expressions, and we looked at what happens when we have brackets. So here, for example, I have an example here of 2 bracket x plus 4 bracket. Now, when you see brackets, what this means is that the term on the outside, so this 2, that's multiplying with the whole of the bracket. So here, if I write this out, that's just 2 times, or 2 lots of x plus 4. And so when we have these brackets, what we need to do when we expand them, well, what we want to do is we want to expand them. And the way that we do this is by multiplying the term on the outside by every term on the inside. So here, 2 needs to multiply with the x, and 2 also needs to multiply, if I can draw my arrow correctly, with the 4. And so when we expand this just becomes 2 times x plus, because there's a plus sign here, 2 times 4. And so this becomes 2 times x, we just write that as 2x plus 2 times 4, 8. 2x plus 4. And so here, when we expand brackets, we remember this thing. This is called the distributive law. When we have brackets, we have to multiply every term inside our bracket with the thing that's outside our bracket. So in this case, we had to multiply both the x and the 4 by 2. So, if we have an equation that has brackets in them, what we like to do often is to expand out the brackets first before solving. And so here, when we're solving equations with brackets, what we want to do is we want to expand the brackets first, collect any like terms. So if you see that there's multiple pronumerals together, you can actually combine them like we did last lesson when we were looking at solving equations with pronumerals, and then we solve. So let's have a go at these. Let's have a go at this. Example 1, solve the following equations by first expanding the bracket. So let's have a look at this first example. I've got 3 bracket p plus 4 is equal to 18. So let me just write that down here. 3 bracket p plus 4 is equal to 18. Okay, on the left hand side, notice we have an expression with brackets. What I'm going to do is I'm going to expand the bracket. I'm going to multiply that 3 into both the p and also the 4. And so here, when we expand that, I do 3 times p, or 3p. When we do 3 times a pronumeral, or any pronumeral multiplied by a number, we just write them together, plus 3 times 4. 3 times 4 gives me 12. Is equal to 18. And what we have here, this is a 2-step equation, which we did in the first lesson of this week. So what we can do here, we start with the term which is first away from our pronumeral. We have this letter p we want to find the value for. And so notice we've got this plus 12 right next to it. And so what we're going to do is we want to get rid of this plus 12. The opposite of plusing 12 is minusing 12. So I'm going to minus 12 to both sides. And so by minusing 12, I actually move it to the other side. And so we get 3p is equal to 18 minus 12. 18 minus 12, that gives me 6. and we've got 3p is equal to 6. 3p, that's just 3 times p. And so what's the opposite of multiplying by 3? Well, the opposite of multiplying is to divide. So I'm going to divide this by 3. And because I can't just do this to one side of my equation, I have to also do it to the other side of my equation. I'm going to also divide the other side by 3 as well. And so these 3's will cancel out, and we're left with p is equal to 6 divided by 3 is 2. And so here, that's how we can solve this equation here. Firstly, I expanded my brackets. So here, the first step that I did here was I expanded my brackets. So on the left-hand side, notice I went from 3 bracket p plus 4 to 3 times p, so 3p plus 3 times 4, 12. So that's what we did here on this first step. And then once we have that, we solve the equation like we normally would. Okay, let's have a go at the next example. Now, for the next example, we have negative 12 bracket q 3q plus 5 is equal to negative 132. Okay, now this time, this equation, we have a negative number outside my bracket. Notice here, I've got a negative 12. And so not only am I going to multiply everything inside my bracket by 12, but I also need to multiply everything inside my bracket by that negative as well. So anything that's positive inside my bracket becomes a negative. If I have anything that's negative, it becomes a positive. And so here I'm going to multiply this into all of my expressions, or all of the terms inside my brackets. So here I'm going to have negative 12 times negative 3q. So let me just write this out. So I'm going to write this step out a little bit clearer so we can see it. Negative 12 times negative 3q plus negative 12 times 5. And I'm going to move this just a little bit so it lines up. And that is equal to negative 132. Okay, negative 12 times 3q. Well, we just deal with the numbers. So 12 times 3, that's 36. And because this is negative, because there's negative, it's going to be negative. So there, I've got negative 36q. And negative 12 times 5, well, we will deal with the numbers first. 12 times 5 will give me 60. And because there's a negative sign, it's going to be a minus 60. But because there's also a plus sign, we're going to just write this as minus 60 there. Okay, so I've got negative 36q minus 60. So that's what I get when I expand out my brackets. And that's going to be equal to negative 132. And here, just like in the first example, we have got a two-step equation. Firstly, let's deal with the minus 60 here. So I've got minus 60 here, and I want to get rid of that minus 60 from my left-hand side. And so the opposite of minusing 60 is to add 60. So I'm going to add 60 to the left-hand side. And when I do that, I'm going to need to add 60 to the right-hand side. So here I'm going to get negative 36q is equal to negative 132 plus 60. And so that is actually going to give me negative 72. Okay, final step. Well, I've got negative 36q, which is negative 36 times q. So if I want to get rid of that negative 36, what do I need to do? I need to divide this by negative 36. So it cancels it out. But not only that, I also need to do that on the other side as well. So I need to divide the right-hand side by negative 36 as well. So here, these two cancel out. And so I'm left with, on the left-hand side, q is equal to negative 72 divided by negative 36 will actually just give you 2. If you're not sure how to do those calculations with the numbers, you can actually put those in your calculator and actually figure it out. The calculator can do it for you. Okay, so that's how we solve this next example. What we want to do, just like the first example, we want to expand our brackets first. And once we've expanded our brackets, we can then solve the equation that we have. Okay, let's have a look at the third example. Now this one is a little bit different. Now if you have a look on in this third example, I've got 4 bracket 2x minus 5 plus 3x is equal to 57. Now notice here on my left hand side, what's different about this question compared to the previous one? Well, on the left hand side, we still got our brackets. That's still fine. We're still going to need to expand that. But not only do we have those brackets, we have this extra term, plus 3x. So what I'm going to need to do is, after I've expanded my brackets, I need to actually see if I can collect this 3x with any other x terms. And so that's what we're going to do. Let's first expand our bracket. So here we need to multiply the number on the outside with everything that's inside my bracket. So here, I'm gonna get 4 times 2x. 4 times 2x, well, I just multiply the numbers. 4 times 2 will give me 8, and we just have 8x. And there's a minus sign here, so it's going to be minus 4 times 5 will give me 20. And we still got that 3x on the outside. So here, I firstly expanded my brackets. And so here I get 8x minus 20. Now have a look at my left-hand side. On my left-hand side, now I have 8x and plus 3x. And so what I can do here is I can go, oh, actually, those I can combine like terms. And so here I've got 8x plus 3x. I can combine them. And how many x's will I have altogether? Well, I'll be left with 11x because 8 plus 3 is going to give me 11. So here I'm going to get 11x and the minus 20 is still there as well. So here what I did was I combined these two like terms and that gave me 11x altogether. So 8 plus 3 gave me 11. Okay, now that we've done that, we've got a two-step equation again. Here, let's just deal with it like we did in the last two examples. I've got this minus 20. I've got this minus 20 on my left-hand side and I want to get rid of it. What's the opposite of minusing 20? Well, the opposite of minusing 20 is plusing 20. So I'm going to add 20. And I can't just do that to my left-hand side. I need to also do it to my right-hand side. So I'm going to move this over to the right-hand side. I'm going to add 20 there. And so here, on my left-hand side, I get rid of that 20. I've got 11x is equal to 57 plus 20, which is going to give me 77. And now final step, 11x is just 11 times x. And if I want to get rid of that 11 times, well, the opposite of timesing is dividing. So I'm going to divide both sides by 11 so I can get rid of that 11 in front of my x. So here that cancels that out. And I'm left with x is equal to 77 divided by 11 is actually just 7. And so here our final answer is x is equal to 7. Okay, one more example to go. Okay, last example here. Now here, on this example, we've actually got an equation where we've got brackets, not just on my left-hand side, but also on my right-hand side. And so what we need to do is we need to actually expand out the brackets on both sides. And what we're going to notice is after we've done that, we're going to get an equation with pronumerals on both sides. And so what we're going to need to do is use our skills from last lesson when we're solving equations with pronumerals on both sides to actually help us solve this one. So let's have a go at this. On my left-hand side, I've got 2 bracket 3k plus 1 is equal, and on the right-hand side, I've got 5 2k minus 6. And so here, when I expand my brackets, I need to multiply my outside term with everything that's on the inside. So I'm going to multiply 2 with 3k and also with 1. So here on the left-hand side, 2 times 3k, well, I just multiply those numbers together. 2 times 3 will give me 6. And so here I'm going to get 6k plus 2 times 1 is going to give me, 2 times 1 is 2. So I've got 6k plus 2 on my left-hand side. And my right-hand side, I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to multiply my 5 with the 2k over here and the minus 6. So here, I'm going to get 5 times 2k. 5 times 2 is just 10, so I'm going to get 10k. And my other term here is I've got 5 times negative 6. And here, that's going to give me negative 30. Okay, or minus 30. Okay. Now that I've done that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to move all my pronumerals to one side and all my numbers to the other side. So all the letters are going to go into one side, all my numbers are going to go to one side. Now here, usually what we did was we moved all our letters to the left-hand side. And we can actually do that here as well. So let me move all my letters to the left-hand side. So notice here, I've got a 10k. That's a positive 10k because there's no minus sign out the front. And so if I want to get rid of move this 10k from the right hand side to the left hand side, what do I need to do? Well, I need to actually minus 10k from this side. Because there's a plus 10k there, I need minus 10k. And so when I move it to the left hand side, I'm actually going to minus 10k. And so here, I'm going to get 6k minus 10k on the left hand side. Now, not only that though, and I'm just going to move this down a bit so I can work with it. There we go. Oh, move this down. So here I have that minus 10k. What I'm also going to do is I'm going to move all the numbers onto one side as well. So notice here on my left hand side, I actually had this +2. And I'm going to move that +2 away so I don't have all the numbers on the left hand side. So I'm going to move it to the right hand side. What's the opposite of plussing 2? Well, that's just minusing 2. So I'm going to minus 2 from both sides. So when I do that, I'm going to get -30 minus 2. So I've moved it over to the other side. I've got -2 now. Okay. Let's deal with these. So 6k minus 10k, they both have k's, and so we can actually collect these like terms. So 6 minus 10 is going to give me -4k. And on my right hand side, I've got -30 minus 2. That's just going to give me -32. Okay, I've got -4k is equal to -32. And just like we did with our one-step equations, when we want to get rid of that -4 in front of my k, or what I need to do is I need to divide by -4. So here I'm going to divide by -4. And then if I do that on the left hand side, I also need to do it on the right hand side. So I divide by 4. And this will actually cancel out that -4. And I'm left with k is equal to -4 divided by -32 divided by -4 is actually going to give me 8. And so here, that is how we solve this particular equation. So this one, we actually use the fact that this is also an equation where we've got polynomials on both sides of our equation to actually solve this one. Okay, so that's it for today's lesson, Year 8. Hopefully I was helpful. If you have any questions, feel free to send me an email or a message on Google Classroom. I'm more than happy to try and help you. But that's it for today, and I'll see you guys actually next term. Bye.